You are listening to Murder Fluent. I am Frank, and with me, as always, is my lovely wife, Martha. And here's the news. what are we talking about this time?
We are talking about a serial killer and bank robber, Israel Keys.
Is that a male or a female? Or should I not gender?
I believe you can go with male.
Okay.
I believe that's
gotcha.
a safe
I mean,
thing to
Israel
say.
could go either way.
Right.
But
he's a sick dude.
So tell me, I don't know nothing about this one, I don't think.
He was born in 1978, January. Born in Cove, Utah, to a Mormon family who later turned to fundamentalist Christianity, which is more like a militant, malicious sort of church and kind of Amish. He was the second of 10 children. His mom's name was Heidi. His dad's name was John Jeffrey Keys. He moved to Colville, Washington, into a one-room cabin with no electricity or running water.
Why? Just because
I'm not exactly sure why.
If you make your life harder, then you live more.
You're closer to God. I don't know. Yeah.
Are they like Amish with you? Make the way I'm envisioning Amish with guns. Do they have guns?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, while they were there, they became friends with Chevy Kehoe while they were living there. He was a white supremacist that was convicted of kidnapping and torturing and murdering 3 people with another man, Daniel Lewis Lee. And they were, friends. The whole family was friends with that man. So I think that just kind of tells you about these people, that they either attracted the same kind of people or they just were drawn to each other.
Well, yeah, murderers hang out.
Which this was his whole family before he was even a serial killer. But they attended the Ark Church at that point, which taught Christian identity, which was like a racist, anti-Semitic branch of Christianity. They also, at some points, attended the Christian Israel Covenant Church, which taught basically the same beliefs. But by the time he was a teen, he had renounced Christianity and decided that he was more interested in Satanism.
Okay, now you've sent me several images here. Let me pull the guy up. I'll pull the guy up so we can get a good look at him. And really...
That one, Israel Keys Method Serial Killer. Can you bring that one up? He's wearing a hat.
Oh, yeah, that's the one
He's got his arm up.
By chance. Okay.
Because this is like him.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Chilling out with his bros.
Looks like a regular guy.
Yeah, he looks like the kind of guy you'd like buy weed from at the Burger King drive-through.
Burger King. I'll have a Whopper and
I'll have a special Whopper. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that, I mean, he doesn't have that look like typical murderers have. He is smiling and enjoying himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Creepy dude. He definitely looks pretty normal there, though. He served in the Army from 98 to 2001 at Fort Lewis, Fort Hood, and then in Egypt. He was stationed there, too. He was at the rank of specialist at his discharge. And there's a picture of him in the Army in 99, too, if you want to pop that one up.
Let's see.
He was awarded the Army Achievement Medal, the Army Service Ribbon, Marksman's Badge with the Rifle Bar, and the Expert Infantryman Badge, and an Air Assault Badge.
Hey, it looks just like a regular... He looks more put together there.
Yeah, it almost doesn't even look like the same guy there. He looks a lot... I don't know, he looks younger for sure. Army friends described him as quiet. Said he stayed to himself for the most part, but that he drank really heavy on the weekends. He really liked wild turkey bourbon, consumed entire bottles of that, I guess. Really loved ICP.
Sure. Yeah, well, you know.
He started a construction business in his adulthood in Alaska called Keys Construction. Very creative, if you ask me. You know, handyman, contractor, construction worker. He had a wife, and then he had a daughter from a previous relationship. So he was arrested for the murder of Samantha Koenig. So she was an 18-year-old girl that was working as a coffee booth employee in Anchorage, Alaska, and that's where he lived at this time. And there's a picture of this little, that's her, yeah, that's Samantha. And then there's this little coffee booth that she worked in. And there's a picture of that too, just like a little standalone building, like in a mall parking lot or something. And she worked inside one of those. Oh, her Amazon order has shipped. Excuse me. Yeah, there it is. The Common Grounds coffee.
Like a drive up coffee shop?
Well, I don't know if that it was drive up. I think you were supposed to walk up because that's what he did. You know, he walked up and ordered coffee just like, you know, anybody else would. This was in 2012 on February 1st. So she was the last known victim of his. But honestly, I guess they don't really know. And that was something that he said later, was that if I don't tell you, you won't know. That he just felt really confident in the fact that he had hidden things well enough and not left enough evidence. And I think that that's probably pretty accurate. But he abducted her from this coffee booth. There is video, some surveillance video, and you see someone come up, and he's wearing a ski mask and whatever, you know, it's cold, it's Alaska. Apparently that wasn't too disturbing to her. She's making the coffee, you see her do that, and then she gives him the coffee, and then you see her hands go up in the video. And he's holding her at gunpoint, and he's demanding her to empty the register, and you see her do that. And then eventually the lights go out. And I mean, it's a long time. She's laying on, I don't know, she's laying on the ground.
Is this nighttime that this is happening?
Yeah. And it's close to closing time, but it's not quite closing time yet. And he takes her and abducts her from there. She gets away, actually, for a minute, and he tackles her and then takes her to his vehicle. She doesn't have a vehicle there. Her boyfriend was supposed to pick her up from work that night. But anyway, we'll get to that later. But so he robs that, he abducts her. He says that he's only abducting her for ransom. But part of his plan was that he had to have her debit card, because that's where he's going to have money transferred for this ransom or whatever. So she doesn't have it with her. So he takes her to his house and puts her in this shed out back while his wife and his daughter are inside, puts her in this shed out back, locks her in, says, be quiet, turns loud music on so people can't hear. And he goes to her house and gets into her vehicle that she shares with her boyfriend and gets this debit card. And the boyfriend actually sees him getting into this car and taking the debit card. But it happens so fast that, you know, there's nothing he can do about it. And he had talked her into giving him the PIN number, and she had actually given him the PIN number. He tested it while he was out picking that up. And he goes back where she is then. And he sexually assaults her and then kills her the next day.
Now the boyfriend, this is Samantha's boyfriend, right?
Yeah, that saw
And
him
he didn't
breaking
know
in.
she was missing or anything.
Well,
He thought she was
I
at
don't know
work.
that at that point that he was sure that she was missing. He did go to pick her up later, and she wasn't there, but Israel used her cell phone, which he had to go back, I believe, to the common grounds and get her cell phone too.
Wow.
But he texted him and said that she was going on this vacation or whatever. She just couldn't take life or whatever anymore. I don't know. I do think we have maybe a picture of that. No, I guess I didn't save that picture of the text message because it was literally just a picture of a text message. But
Yeah, I do have a picture of her at the coffee place with her hands up,
right,
though.
yeah.
Um, which I can't tell. Like, where's the window at? Or there was
Okay,
a
you
walk-up
can't really
window?
see the window, so um, that table that she's standing in front of,
Uh-huh.
that white surface there, it's like to the left of that a little bit. You can't really see
Oh,
the
okay.
window where he is there. It would be next to
Like
that he
probably
was at.
wherever her eye line is, I guess.
Right, yeah, if you followed her eye line, that's right where it's at, that he was standing. But okay, so he has sexually assaulted and killed her, and then he leaves her body in that shed out back, and they went to New Orleans then and went on a 2-week long cruise with his family in the Gulf of Mexico while she's dead in his shed at home. So he's just seriously sick, like just gross. So when he came back 2 weeks later, of course it's Alaska, so she hasn't really decomposed. So he kind of thaws her out a little bit, and then applies makeup and kind of like moves her
What?
around to look like she's alive.
That's
Oh, it gets
crazy.
better. It gets better. He sews her eyes open, and then he takes a 2-day-old newspaper and holds it up like next to her and takes a picture.
Oh, is that what this picture is?
Yes,
She's
and then
dead there?
she's been dead for 2 weeks in that picture. He photocopies the picture too to make it black and white and look like this, so it's harder to tell that she's dead. But he takes
Wow.
her picture and then takes a picture of her dead. 2 weeks. She's been dead for 2 weeks. But it's so cold in Alaska that she's been frozen.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't decompose. Plus, like I said, he photocopies a photo so that it's not a clear image anyway.
It's crazy.
So he takes that picture and he goes, okay, so he texts the boyfriend from her phone and says that she was under a picture of Albert and where to go at this park, and that he wants $30,000 in ransom. So they go to this park, and there's like on this pole, there's like this picture of a missing dog named Albert, and underneath the pole, like on the ground, is like a little plastic sack, and inside that bag is her photo and him asking for ransom and to like put $30,000 in her bank account that's tied to her debit card. So after he's done that, he's like, well, I don't really need her anymore. She's already dead. I've already done the whole ransom thing. I got my picture. So he dismembers her and disposes of her body in Matanuska Lake. Her body was eventually found after he told them where she was. But I know it took a long time and like divers, and I mean it was like freezing cold, but I guess he went out. Yeah, he went out, and like it's not unusual for people to have been out there ice fishing, and so like there were holes in the ice cut and he was out there fishing. He really was. Like he caught fish that day, and he would just like every once in a while slip a bag of her body parts into the hole and keep on fishing, and caught fish and took them home and fed them to his family that night.
Fucking
Just like
insane.
gross, dude.
Like
But
all I can say is all I keep saying is that's insane. That's
right,
insane.
he's just not. He's just a terrible, terrible, terrible person. Um, but police had tracked the withdrawals from her account, and as he was moving around, so he was, they ping him in. Where was it first? In Alaska first, of course. Oh, what's this? Oh, okay. So that's like pictures of him when he's robbing these banks. So he said that like during his time of, travels and stuff, to pay for him to be able to travel and like murder people, he would rob banks
Oh,
to pay
that
for
says
it.
it's an ATM.
Oh,
Um,
that could be an ATM.
him
Okay,
taking money from an
that's
ATM,
probably him withdrawing money from her ATM
but
account.
yeah, if he was robbing banks, I don't have any photos about
I
that. I
don't know
mean,
if I had a photo of that or not. But I mean, one, it looks just like that one. He's
yeah.
very disguised. You can't tell it's him. Um, but anyway, he was arrested by the Texas Highway Patrol, Corporal Brian Henry and Texas Ranger Stephen Rayburn. And it was in a cafe parking lot in Lufkin, Texas in March of 2012. They saw the vehicle. They knew what kind of vehicle they were looking for. And because they could see it in some of the ATM withdrawals, like this little Ford Focus, white Ford Focus. So they saw that. They saw it had Alaska license plates, So they were just waiting for him to do some minor infraction. He did. They pulled him over. He hands them this driver's license, and it's all downhill from there. They found her, like, I think her ID and her debit card and her purse maybe in his car. So they knew they had the right guy. He was extradited to Alaska where he confessed. He was indicted and trial scheduled to begin in March of 2013, a year later, excuse me. But he said he'd only tell them what they wanted to know if he was executed within a year. And then he would also demand things like an Americano from Starbucks, a certain specific cigar, a Snickers bar, like certain little treats that he wanted.
Like in like to help them find bodies. That's what this whole thing was. He's getting coffees and whatever.
Like to get any information out of him.
Oh.
To get him to cooperate, like he was being this, and they did. They catered to him so that he would give them the information that they wanted.
Small
Like I
victories, I
said,
guess.
right? Yeah. So, like I said before, the only way he said that anybody would know was if he told them about these murders, because all of his cases were considered missing person cases right now. Sorry.
Got that vid.
I do, probably. Wear your freaking masks, people.
This guy wore his mask. I mean,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, he had no problems wearing it.
Different reasons. But he was a traveler. He traveled all over the U.S., even a little bit internationally. And he would plan a lot during these travels for further, like, later murders and stuff. So, like, he'd make a kill kit. Like, he'd get these, like, orange buckets that you could get from Home Depot, like these big waterproof 5-gallon buckets, and he'd put things in them to make a kill kit. Like guns, cash, other weapons, restraints, Drano, all sorts of weird crap he'd leave for the next time. And there's like a picture, I think, of like a cache where like one of these buckets was. Cache for the murder kit, yeah. Like if you click that one, like you would really have to be searching hard to find it or know where it was to find it.
Oh yeah. That's like some
it's
shit
just
some kids would run across.
right,
Just
right. Yeah. Like he knew what he was doing, and he'd set these up like years in advance sometimes. All of his victims were victims of opportunity. He did not have a specific victim. It wasn't men, it wasn't women, it wasn't young, it wasn't old, it wasn't a certain anything. It was just a good opportunity. He had the opportunity to do it, so he did because he wanted to. Just terrifying because he doesn't have a profile, that you can just be like, oh, he wants brunette women, or he want, a lot of killers were like target hookers or people that were not going to necessarily be noticed.
This seems more like
This
it's
was just
about
convenience.
This seems like it's more about the act of what he's doing and
Right.
like the insane details of the shit he's doing to these bodies. Probably, I mean, I've only heard of one thing that he did to a body, but that's very specific. Like, it's more focused on the act and not the victim. So as long as he had a living person, it probably didn't matter to him. It seems like.
Well, yeah, I don't know. He was just terrible. He said that the only other victim's body that had been found of his victims, they had classified it as an accident, and he was the only one that knew that it wasn't an accident. It was actually a murder, and it was him that had done it. So, just a really all-around great guy. He never killed in the same area twice either, and that, I think, is why he got away with it for so long. It was usually far from home, although Samantha Koenig was not. And maybe that was, I think he went wrong in a lot of places there. The ransom, like, connected to her ATM card doesn't seem very smart to me. I'm not sure why he thought that was a good idea.
The ATM card alone, I mean, that's careless if you're trying to not connect yourself to a person. So
yeah, I don't know. He always kept his phone off when he was traveling so that he couldn't be pinged. His phone couldn't be pinged anywhere. He paid in cash. He never knew his victims. He didn't keep trophies. So the only thing they could really do is like track his movements across the country. I didn't keep any of these like logs of his travel, but you could Google it and see. It's just like insane. All of the traveling and where he could have been, and
is he with his wife and family this whole time?
I don't necessarily think he's with his wife and family traveling, although I'm sure he may have. I don't know. But he sexually assaulted all of his female victims. He really did not like to talk about that, though. It made him really super uncomfortable to talk about it, and he really didn't want the public and his daughter knowing that. So he spent a lot of time trying in these interviews with police. Like, he talked a lot about that, about how he didn't want that to be talked about and brought up.
Well, it will be. I mean,
yeah, like they had any control over that. But they really just wanted to know who was murdered and where. And he didn't really. What is that?
Is what?
That sound. I'm getting a crazy. Oh, it's gone.
Is it a ghost, do you think?
It could be a ghost. It was a really long, high squeal. You didn't hear that?
No.
All right.
It might be just an elaborate hoax, though. It could be something supernatural or.
Okay. Anyway, so he did admit to killing one other couple, Bill and Lorraine Courier of Essex, Vermont, and we do have a couple pictures of Bill and Lorraine. He flew to Chicago, rented a car, and drove 1,000 miles to Vermont and murdered them at random.
Oh man, Bill! Look at Bill. He's just having a good time.
They just look like regular people,
Yeah, like you'd have a conversation with this couple about like the most pedestrian stuff. It'd be like she'd talk to you about how her mom used to make the best iced tea, and he'd just be talking about the new chamois he got for his hot rod.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
Yeah, it's sad. I don't know.
I will
innocent
protect you. If
random
someone comes
people.
in the house, I will kill them
I
with
don't
their
know.
own weapon.
He broke into their home, and you can see there's another picture of where he broke into their home there. Not super interesting, I guess, but
he just like picked a random house and just.
well, it was out by itself, and he wanted a place that had a garage that he could break into and get in that way, and that's what they had. So that was why it was them. He actually went in. It was June 8th of 2011. Tied them up before he took them to an abandoned farmhouse, and then he shot Bill there. And then, of course, he sexually assaulted Lorraine, because, like he always did, to the women, and strangled her. Most people were strangled, although some were shot. The bodies were never found. A witness did go in to do a police sketch. I think they had just seen him around. And if you look at the police sketch and you look at it next to a photo of him, I don't know if you can do that at the same time, but if you do one maybe and then the other, like it does kind of look like him. But I think it's hard to go on those police sketches sometimes. There's just, it could be a million people,
Yeah, I mean, that was a fairly good one. I don't know. This picture seems a little small, but we'll see.
Regardless, it never led him to Israel anyhow. So he had hidden a murder kit near their homes, near their home years before, and that's what he had used to kill them. He moved it after the murders to a new hiding place in Parrishville, New York, but they never did find it. And then when Lorraine didn't come into work, her sister-in-law worked with her, and so she called her brother, but he didn't show up to his job either. So she went to the house. It's locked, but there's a broken garage window. So they called the police, but of course they weren't there in the house. And the case was cold until he admitted to killing them. He told them about the abandoned farmhouse where he had killed them and left their bodies, but it had been demolished and taken away. And I guess the demolition crew had been there, and they noticed the smell of decomposition and never investigated that, never called police, never said, maybe we should see if there's a dead body in there because it smells like one.
It was a barn or a farmhouse.
It says farmhouse, but I assume that it, may have been an outbuilding. I'm not sure.
Because I could see them being like, yeah, but this is a farm, and farmers usually bury their livestock.
Right, but if it had been abandoned for a long time, that doesn't make sense anyways.
Also, they probably were just like, yeah, well, it fucking stinks here. And
you know what? They're probably not getting paid enough to make ends meet anyways, and they're just like, this is another job, which is unfortunate. And I would hope to think that if I was in the same situation, I wouldn't do that, but I guess you never know. But they did demolish the house, and it was taken away to a dump. They never, they could never find them. The kill kit was buried 2 miles from their house. 2 years before he killed them, he buried it there. So he just it just is a wild story, because I just can't imagine I know I'm going to kill here, but I don't know when. So I'll just leave my kit here, and then whoever's convenient here for me to kill, I will. So those were the ones that they know he did. They know that he was involved. But there's a woman named Sherry Odegaard who believed that her daughter Julie was also possibly one of his victims. Her daughter Julie disappeared in 1996. She was waiting on a ride for church. There's Julie, adorable little girl. She was a Special Olympics athlete. She had prosthetic feet, and those were found a month later after she went missing. And then her body was found in 1997. He lived in that area at that time and would have been about 18 years old. He denied involvement in that case, but he went on to say something about his daughter's birth made him decide to never to go after children, but that's really
That would
not
have been before his daughter was born, right?
right. Yeah, so she would have been before that, and honestly, um, technically Samantha was still a child. She was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She was just a kid, and his daughter was born, like I said, after Julie went missing. Um, so that was not, no one says that that's for sure his case, but and there are others that some people believe that he could be connected to because he was in the area possibly at that time. Um, but I didn't really. I could have had 100 of those, that I could have added to this, but that was digging too deep, I think. But he did admit that he killed 4 people in Washington, one in New York, and then authorities haven't, determined an age, gender, or identity of the victim. So, um, or even when or where it could have happened. So, I mean, that's all they know is that he admitted to killing them. He had owned 10 acres and a cabin in Constable that was run down, but nothing was found there, I guess. He did confess to the bank robberies in New York and Texas, and then that was later confirmed by FBI. The Community Bank branch in Tupper Lake, New York was another place he had burglarized, I guess. And then uh, there was a home in Texas that he burglarized and then set on fire. And then he did claim to have killed a woman and buried her near Tupper Lake in 2009 in New Jersey. Um, one of the women in New York um, that he claimed to have killed, they think that it might be a woman named Deborah Feldman. Her body was never recovered, though. So, but that's who they think it might be.
This guy seems to be like, it seems like he almost got caught on purpose because he got away with multiple bank robberies and all these murders, and no one would have caught him if he hadn't done all that fucked up credit card shit.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, he could have been doing this still and
Mm-hmm.
continuing on.
Yeah.
That's why, I don't know. Maybe he did feel guilty because of his daughter. Because
I don't know. I don't
maybe,
feel like when you hear him talk in those interviews, and you can watch those on YouTube. They're really long. It's a lot of him talking to them, trying to get what he wants
mm-hmm,
first, and not really saying a whole lot. So you really have to like sift through a lot of it. But
mm-hmm. I remember
if
a
you're
lot of
into
it
it,
was him being like, "How is this going to come out in the press?" And
right,
it's like, well,
and like
listen,
wanting
dude,
to make sure that he's going to be executed within a year,
there
like they
is
had any
no
control over
way,
that.
there is no way in hell that they would ever be like, "Oh yeah, man, you killed all these people. We won't tell anybody you fucked all the ladies. We won't tell.
Right,
We'll keep that. We'll keep. I mean, we're gonna try to keep you looking as squeaky clean as we can. You're a piece of shit, man. You fucked up
right. Well, and
multiple
they're like,
times, like
the
beyond belief.
if
You're
you want to go to the death, if you want to have the death penalty, then just keep admitting to all these murders and telling us, because
yeah,
the more you do, the more likely you are to get the death penalty.
right.
I don't know.
The thing about the death penalty is though, I mean, I think I'm aware enough to. This guy killed himself, right?
This
Like,
guy did kill himself.
okay, the death penalty would have taken years. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
years. So maybe
Always
it did.
does.
Maybe it did come to a point where he felt guilty enough where he's like, I need to be caught. I need to,
Right.
you
I
know.
don't think so, but
But who knows? Because he
I
didn't
don't
seem to
know.
care about dying. I mean, he killed himself. So
Right. Well, he wanted to be, because he had been caught, though. I think if he could have kept getting away with it, he would have kept doing it. But there was another possible victim in Wyoming near the Green River, one in California in wine country. And then when he was asked if he had ever killed anyone in Canada, he said, Canadians don't count.
oh,
So who knows what that
okay.
means.
Well, I
But
guess I
he,
mean, in the court of law, if he's arrested in the United States, it's out of their jurisdiction. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They could extradite him, but there'd have to be a
Right.
case for,
Well, it
he
doesn't
wasn't
really
caught
matter
in Canada,
because,
so
right. But he had traveled to Canada. They did know that. But he did die on December 2nd, 2012. Self-inflicted wrist cuts from a blade from a disposable shaving razor that he had embedded in a pencil. And he had strangled himself, I think, with some bed sheets or something. He had a 4-page suicide note, and it had an ode to murder written on it, but no clues about any other victims that he may have had. But he did have 11 drawings of skulls under his jail cell bed that were drawn in his own blood. And that is why the FBI thinks that maybe he has 11 victims. Um, yeah, there's a picture of those drawings. Dude's a creep.
not a very good artist, I'll be
Not
honest.
really. Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
he is drawing them with his own blood, so I don't know how
he's
that is
got
for
the
a medium.
he's got the time.
Yeah,
Put in
I
the
don't know.
work, buddy. You put in the
Right.
work on everything else. If you're
I
going to
don't know
leave a
what that
cryptic,
one says. We are
one.
one. Okay.
I think that's what
Uh
it says.
yeah, I don't know. Creep.
I mean, and
Uh
like, well, is this you have a letter here? Is this the letter, the ode to
that was the
murder?
suicide letter.
Oh, this is, you can barely read it. I'm just saying, take some
Yeah.
time, ladies and gentlemen. If you're
Well,
going
it
to
was
write
soaked in blood.
well, that's even worse. If you're going to take the time to write a suicide letter, your last message to living people when you take your own life, make it legible.
Yeah.
If there's any time where handwriting is the most important, it's the last time. So just keep that in mind if
Yeah.
you're going to kill yourself. Just
I can give you a little snippet of his letter.
okay.
Now that I have held you tight, I will tell you a story. Speak soft in your ear so you know that it's true. You're my love at first sight, and though you're scared to be near me, my words penetrate your thoughts now in an intimate prelude. I looked in your eyes. They were so dark, warm, and trusting, as though you had not a worry or care. The more guileless than game, the better potential to fill up those pools with your fear. Your face framed in dark curls like a portrait, the sun shone through highlights of red. What color, I wonder, and how straight will it turn, plastered back with the sweat of your blood? Your wet lips were a promise of a secret unspoken, nervous laugh as it burst like a pulse of blood from your throat. There will be no more laughter here.
It's a little trite. Um, his art is he's a
Yeah,
bad artist. He's a bad
yeah.
poet. He's a bad painter.
Just a
He
bad
is a
person.
bad writer. I mean, bad person
Yeah,
overall. But I mean, some of these serial killers and maniacs at least have created somewhat uh, not redeemable, but like they have an artistic point of view that is, you're like, that's an interesting, creative, different
right.
sort of thing. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be judging that sort of stuff in tragic cases like this. But I always think, like, if you're gonna bother fucking painting a picture, and you're in jail,
Right.
put the time in.
Yeah, I don't
This is your
know.
legacy. You're leaving behind a legacy. So no matter what it is, try your
Yeah,
best.
not a fan of this fella.
No,
But
yeah. I wonder if like he had PTSD or something, or I
I
think
don't
that
know.
I think, and this is gonna sound terrible, but I think that the way that the military trains their soldiers is damaging on purpose to people's mental states.
Well, and there's like a lot of these cases too that you hear about where there's misconduct, especially towards female um, army members, that gets like swept under the rug and covered up, or that's a whole other thing. And that's I had a whole podcast about one of those cases,
Yeah.
but it perhaps got all deleted off of my
Yeah.
computer at one point.
For anyone who's wondering why it's been a very long time since we've put one of these out, there's a combination of things that happened. One is Martha's notes got deleted somehow. I believe it was our son, right? He,
Yes.
he was
Well,
on
and
it.
also my failure to save an open Word document, and then he closed it to do some homework.
Yeah, or play Sims, whichever it was.
Or play The Sims, one or the other.
And then on top of that, then I had to get the ambition to set a bunch of cameras up. But since we did it this way and there's no lag or anything, such a relief. Because every time we did it with multiple cameras, I had issues with my one camera. I don't know if you remember that, but it would cut out and stuff. And I had to put a filter on it to make it look like I did it on purpose. But guess what, guys? I didn't do that on purpose. That was my camera and me not knowing what I'm doing with it. I'm going to have to like crack a book on that one, I think, because I can't figure out why it's doing that. It's a frame rate issue or something, and I am dumb as fuck. I mean, really. I don't even know
what you're talking about.
So. You know what I'm talking about. I'm dumb as fuck. You can say it.
That part I know about. The other stuff I don't know about.
But anyways, did you have anything else on this? We got a picture of Israel's grave. That was just where it belongs. Let's just show it to people. Show it. That is not how I thought. Is it spelled wrong on one of those? Is this headstone? No. Israel? It's spelled different.
They are spelled differently. I do believe it is AEL.
Well, his headstone's misspelled then. Good. Israel. Yeah. Israel dead. It's the Holy Land. Ugh. Well, he didn't believe in that anymore. He was all into Satanism, supposedly. Ugh. Jesus. Whatever. I'll tell you
whatever floats your boat. But
yeah, the Satanists get a bad name. Just look it up. Well, there's always dumbasses.
No, it's just I don't think that he's even.
No, he was a Satan worshiper, probably, which is a completely different thing.
Right.
And I'm not going to go into the details because it doesn't matter. But I just think
exactly right.
that if you're misrepresenting, it happens all the time with other religions, I guess. Like Christianity always gets like, I'm a Christian, and you're like, you're not a Christian, you're a fucking asshole, is what you are.
You use religion to oppress others.
Yeah, you can't, and it works though. I mean, look what happened.
It does work.
I'm not gonna get into politics, but look what happened. We had the biggest huckster in the world convince enough people.
You're gonna have some nasty comments now, Aaron.
Ooh, good. They're gonna fucking do it anyways. It's gonna be the same dickhead that's like, "Where's your let's see, what are your research notes?" And also Trump 2020.
I will give you all my links if you need them.
Yeah, we'll email them right up your asshole.
The list is long.
Yeah. But anyways,
I looked this up 5 minutes ago and read it off of Wikipedia, actually.
Yeah, we did. That's all it was. Just straight from Wikipedia. It wasn't countless hours of watching long interrogation videos and parsing through.
Those were forever
various things. I just want, if you are one of these dickheads that goes on YouTube and literally has no artistic outlet whatsoever of your own, and you just hang out in comment sections, fucking. Whatever stupid bullshit you're going to type into the computer, just take the time to stop yourself, look that you have your own channel, and make your own fucking video about how our shit sucks, and make sure you hashtag it ZTOTV so that it comes back around, because we're out here trying. I'm out here trying. We're all my friends. We're out here trying.
I ain't your friend.
You're my best friend.
The wife.
You're my best friend. I come home to you.
Don't forget it.
Every day. And I love you. I love you more than anything else or anyone else. This is getting weird. I just want to say it. I don't want to spray it. But maybe I do.
That's how COVID passes us around. Do you know?
Yeah, you gotta watch out for them particles. And is that what it is?
Wear your mask. Particles?
Yeah. Wear your mask. I'm sorry I'm sorry they're trying to cancel your Christmas.
Cancel the Christmas parade.
Anyways, let's end this. Do you know what you're doing next time? You probably
no idea.
Well,
feel free to leave a suggestion.
Leave a suggestion. We'll make sure to save our notes next time, and we'll see you.
Will.
We'll see you later. I'm gonna save your notes, lady.
Don't kill anybody.